What's up, YouTube? It's your girl Riley Knox back with another video, and as you can see by the title of this video, I'm not happy. I'm smiling right now, but I'm really not happy, and I love getting on here talking to you guys. I love sharing my life with you guys, but every now and then somebody pulls me out of like my comfort zone or pulls me out of something and makes me want to talk about something that is very near and dear to my heart or close to my community. A lot of you know that I am a transgender woman. That's not all that I am. It's not all of my life, but it is a big part of who I am. And sometimes it just seems like things keep happening in the media that I'm like, I gotta speak on this. I gotta say something. I gotta talk. I gotta speak up. But this is just annoying to me. And I'm gonna be very honest with you guys and this is probably going to be a very real video. I mean, I've done other videos about this before, about being transgender and about, different things that happen against us, that happen for us, that happen it's just, but this is like, I keep saying this and I've talked about it amongst my friends and I've talked about it amongst other people. It's like transgender people, we just be minding our business and all of a sudden somebody comes out and is just like, wants to bother us, just wants to pick on us. And it just doesn't make any sense to me. I'm talking about the new interview with Macy Gray and Piers Morgan about where he asked her about transgender people and transgender parts and like what makes a woman and all this stuff. And nobody asked y'all. Nobody needed to at all. Like, this was an unnecessary conversation, number one. But it also was just kind of like, we weren't bothering you at all. And what pissed me off is it was posted on Hollywood Unlocked on Instagram. And I just happened to just see it there. And they're like, Macy Gray talks about trans. I'm like, oh, Lord, what happened now, right? Another celebrity, another person of influence talking about something that they know nothing about. They're not an expert on. They're not a doctor on. They're not even an expert in the sense that they're not even transgender and don't know anything about what it's like to be transgender or what we feel inside, what's internal, any of that, or even a scientist, right? Now, the thing is I expect this from Piers Morgan. Because everybody knows he's a troll, he's an asshole, he's so many different things, and he's been in the line of fire before, and he just is one of those people that don't care. And I think of him sort of as like a shock jock sometimes, and just glib and stupid, and and will say and do anything just to get a rise out of people. And it's almost like he's made a career on that. I honestly can't even be mad at Macy Gray. Because Macy Gray, to me, never really seemed like that much of that smart to me anyway. And maybe she is smart in certain, and talented in other ways. But it's always like, she always just seemed like the high, like slurred speech kind of blah, 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 whatever. Like, is anybody taking anything Macy Gray says serious? But what pissed me off is when I looked in the comments after she made the comments about women with breast or what makes a woman, or she said, I'll call you, like, if you want me to call you a she, I'll call you a she, but in my head I'm not thinking that you're a woman. You're not a woman to me. You're not a woman, right? I looked in the comments and there were so many people co-signing her, even if there are people that think like, oh, Macy's going to be canceled, whatever, but it's almost like they want to hide behind the fact that she said it. So now let me say it. Or let me just say, well, she's just saying what everybody was thinking, or like hats off to her, or Macy for president, and people getting real stupid and real crazy and real weird about this, right? And I thought to myself, like, there's so many people out there that support me, that follow me, and that, may love what I do and think that I'm talented and, whatever, that call me a she, but are just like, I don't think of you as a woman. But, if that's what you want me to call you, but you're still not a woman to me because you don't have a period, you can't have a baby, because you've altered your body in whatever ways or whatever, like you were still born a man, you have to be born a woman, whatever. We've had these conversations before. It's an unnecessary conversation to have right now, but it was just the perception of it with the community. And for me, it's also like, especially with the Black community. We've talked about this before here on my channel, and maybe I'll go into depth again about, black people that don't stand up for transgender people. Not all, but there's a lot of black people that don't stand up for trans women, a lot of cisgender black women, a lot of cisgender black men that don't stand up for us, that don't, care as long as it, they may want us to do their hair, they want us to be their makeup artist, but as soon as we have rights and as soon as something's happening for us, then it's like, oh, well, it's just crazy to me, because you would think that minority groups would stick together or would identify with each other, It just doesn't make sense at all. But whether you agree with Macy Gray, whether you see me as a woman, whether you see me, I always say, I don't care what you believe, I don't care what you agree with, I care how you treat me, right? So in that sense, yeah, I do, I care that you treat me a certain way. But it's like nobody was asking you guys. We just be over here minding our damn business, and then all of a sudden, here comes somebody out the blue with oh yeah, let's just go ahead and police the bathrooms. And oh my God, just attacking us for no reason. You don't see transgender people out here doing anything where we're trying to take something away from somebody else. You don't see us out here doing things where we're trying to disturb the peace, where we're trying to it just makes no sense at all to me. It's like, we're bored today. What can we do? What's going to make news? What's going to be shocking to people? What's going to be the thing that's all over the blogs? Let's talk about transgender people. Let's talk about transgender rights. All of that. It just makes absolutely no sense to me. But I really I was angry by what I was hearing come out of Macy Gray's mouth. And I was angry about what I was hearing about, it was also kind of this stupidity again. But then when I looked at the comments, and maybe, they always say don't read the comments, and I don't really read the comments that often, but it just was sort of I just wanted to see if there was anybody that would stand up for us. And the majority of the comments, there might have been 3 or 4 as I scrolled down, that were, who asked you, or nobody was talking to, whatever. But most of the people were facts, or I agree with her, no lies detected, so many people. And I think to myself, there's so many of those people that follow me, that love my art, and that I think really see me, and and I'm not saying you have to agree with every single thing about me or every single thing in my life, but it's just how many other people in the world around me, in my immediate world, tolerate who I am and just say, well, I'll call you whatever you want to be called. Not even because I'm in the public eye, not because I'm famous, not because of anything like that, because I know there's lots of people that love my art but don't really agree with who I am or what I am. And that's fine, that's fine. I'll cash those checks all day long. I'll sell, as long as you sell out my show. Sometimes I really don't really care about that. But I think about how many people that are just about tolerance and just well, I mean, if that's what you want. Because I have to tell you guys a story. And it's just so interesting to me that this happened to me, because I am a 41-year-old transgender woman who has been living in my truth, living as who I am as a woman since 18 years now. It's just so crazy to me that stuff like this still happens, because I think people think that because I'm further along, or because I'm famous, or because I'm known, and people, that people respect me in certain circles that they wouldn't respect other trans people in other ways. I think people think that I'm exempt from it. I'm not exempt from it. I'm going to tell you guys this story. So last week, I, here in the building that I live in, they had a rooftop party for a tenant appreciation day, where basically everyone who lives in the building, we were grilling hot dogs and drinks and whatever. I don't know what else was going on up there. And I happened to come downstairs. I didn't take part in it at all, because I don't typically go to those things, because I'm, I won't say I'm shy, but I'm also very introvert, as extrovert as I am publicly. In my real life, I'm very introvert, especially since I live here, and a lot of people in the building know who I am and know what I do, but they, are very respectful and kind and whatever, but I just don't really socialize, So I went downstairs to the concierge, and the maintenance guy was there, and he knows me and he knows what I do, and his wife's a fan of mine, and he says, "Hey Riley, what's going on?" He's like, "Riley, how come you don't ever come to any of the functions that we have here, and I never see you at any of the things." And I was just like, "Well, I'm a kind of extrovert here, I think people think because I'm in the public eye that they think that I'm super extrovert, but most famous people were very introverted, and most people who are, especially in entertainment, like, we're extrovert on stage and we're introverts, whatever." But the concierge was sitting right there too, and she's seen me for months. She's kind of new, but she's seen me for a couple months, and she was like, "Oh," but she doesn't really know what I do. She was like, "Oh, like, who are you? Like, what do you do, Riley? Like, I've never asked you what you do." And I was like, "Oh, I'm an entertainer." And the maintenance guy, he was like, "She's the best. She's amazing. Oh my God, she's amazing." Out of the blue, from absolutely nowhere, no one was asking. Just so crazy, right? Some random ass girl comes downstairs and she's like, "Yeah, I follow his," she's like, "Yeah, he is. I follow his design page." She follows my Riley Knox Couture page, right? But she misgenders me. She calls me a he. Now, I look like this literally every single day. There's nothing about me that's even kind of masculine. You know what I mean? Like, my voice might be a little bit raspier than most people's, but like, there's nothing about me that's even kind of manly. There's nothing about me that should ever even if you knew me before, there's nothing about me that should ever have you misgender me. Ever. Right? But 18 years into this still happens. That let me know that this girl who misgendered me, that supports me, follows my page, she does not see me as a woman, because she would have never even thought to even bring up the fact that I'm transgender. I'm an entertainer. I'm a fashion designer. But what did that have to do with my gender at all? Like, the maintenance guy was just telling the concierge that I was talented and that I was really good at my job. And this random girl, we weren't even talking to her. She just came off the elevator and like came out of, literally, I didn't see where she came from. Came out of nowhere from towards the elevator and was just like, "Yeah, I follow his design page." And people were looking around, like, there were a few people there, and they were looking around like, "Who's she talking about? Like, who he?" Like, they didn't know who she was talking about at all. Crazy thing is that she was embarrassed by what she had done. And she went into like the back room, and I could hear her feel the embarrassment. And it always happens this way. Somebody offends us, somebody like misgenders, whatever, and really didn't really offend me because I know who I am. You know what I mean? Like T.S. Madison says, I cash checks in Tim's name all year round. That's sort of the way I feel. Like, I'll cash a check in that old name anytime, But I wasn't really offended. It's sort of like people will say offensive things and misgender us, and now like they're embarrassed, and now we have to like console them and be like, "Oh, it's okay, it's whatever." But she stayed back in that room, but I heard her say, "Oh my God," I said, "He, oh my God," like she whispered it like to the concierge, who, by the way, the concierge doesn't know anything of me being transgender or not. Like, I don't know if she knew or cared or whatever. The maintenance guy for sure knows. His wife's a fan of mine and knows that I made history and whatever. It just was so stupid. But it's like I said, we just be minding our business. We just over here just living our lives, minding our business, and out of nowhere, here comes the BS. It's really crazy. It's like, this is all I want to say. The purpose of my video is like, leave us alone. Just leave us alone. We just want to live our lives. Like, just leave us alone. And yes, I did post the other day on my stories, "Fuck Macy Gray." But I really do feel that way. Like, fuck you, bitch. Like, it's just the dumbest thing ever. Because we were not, like, you and Pierce. Like, it's just so crazy. And yes, she was baited into being asked that question, and she was true to what she believes in. But I kind of like to know who is on our side and who's not on our side. And like, and she said, "I know for a fact." You don't know anything for a fact because you're not an expert on it. You're not an expert on being transgender. You're not an expert on transgender people. You haven't studied it. You're not a scientist. You don't know anything at all about, for a fact. It's just so weird to me. But what also kind of was disheartening to me is like, I helped Macy Gray out last year. Like, so my friend Karen Huger was renewing her vows, and Macy was performing because they're friends. She was performing at the wedding, and her luggage got lost, and she needed a stylist. She needed some clothes, and so I couldn't provide clothes for her. I couldn't make something up for her really quick, even though I designed. but I referred my friend who is a stylist to her, and to help her have something to wear for the day. So it's just like I say all the time, you have your views on who we are and all this stuff, and like she said, like she'll respect anybody, but you don't see us, like you just, if as long as we're doing your hair, your makeup, styling you, whatever, like it's just sort of like, it's just so dumb. Like, fuck you. Really, fuck you. Respectfully, fuck you. And not respectfully. Like, it's just so dumb to me. I don't care. But I say to people all the time, like, I do care about how you treat me. But I also like to know who is on our side and who's not on our side. And if you're not, like, unfollow me. Like, I'm fine with that. Unfollow me, unsubscribe to the channel, whatever. But it just, for me, it just doesn't make sense, because it's like, we weren't bothering anybody. Nobody needed this. We didn't need this at all. And it's almost like, especially like with other minorities and other oppressed groups, you would think that you would see us. And the thing is, I'm a double minority, you know? And someone mentioned in the comments, they're like, Roe versus Wade doesn't affect you guys. This is the thing where you're being super glib. Roe versus Wade being overturned, like this whole thing, it's so crazy to me that people think it only affects women. It affects all of us. We should all be mad about this. Men, women, transgender people, it affects every single person. This being overturned is, yes, it is policing women's bodies and is horrible, but we should all be outraged about this for women and because it affects all of society. The same way I feel like transgender issues and black issues, everybody should be upset about people being, persecuted or discriminated for because they're minority or because of bodies being policed or whatever. And it starts with Roe versus Wade, and then it trickles down into other things like people wanting segregation to happen again, or they want to go after gay marriage. It starts with all of that, and it does affect us. It affects everyone. So for people saying like, oh, that doesn't affect you guys, but because you guys aren't biological women or you weren't born women, whatever. Yeah, they may not be able to police our bodies, but this issue affects all of us, and we should all be outraged about it. But anyway, that's just my soapbox for the day, and that's just the way I felt. And I felt like I needed to say something because I was angry, and I was actually talking to my friends about it. My friends who are transgender, my friends who are not transgender, who support me and been supportive and just see what I have to deal with on a daily basis. And then I just think to myself, like, why? It just makes no sense. But there we go. I love you guys for watching. Thank you so much for hearing me out. Go down in the comments, tell me how you feel about this, and although I shudder to even say that after reading the comments on Hollywood Unlocked, and they said it was on the Shade Room too. I don't even want to know what was on that. But anyway, love you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Make sure you like and subscribe. Bye.